Hello, my friends. Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa Stringworks Man Cave with lesson number 7. For those of you who don't attend the daily vlogs, you probably don't know that I just forgot last week. That's why we didn't have one last week. But anyway, that just comes with old age, I guess. Anyway, we're going to have a good one this evening, I think. The idea tonight is to play songs for the most part. And we're going to play them with chord pattern number 1, which will be off of the bottom 2 strings. And we'll get into that here in just a second. First, just a little bit of housekeeping. We'll probably go most of the hour just playing songs this evening. If you have a specific song you want to work on, I don't know that we'll get to it tonight, but you could put it in the comments and we'll read it later. I'll probably, wait until pretty near the end of the hour before I go into the comments at all. If you are financially capable and you are, and more importantly, you feel that you are getting something out of the lessons, well, I would appreciate either a super chat down here, and you can click on that $ icon and make a donation, or you could send me, and this would be my preferred, you could send me a PayPal donation, and all you have to do is send it to my email address, which is rosastringworks@gmail.com, and it's on my website in case you can't remember that, www.rosastringworks.com, and rosastringworks@gmail.com is the email address. All right, so I've got about 9 songs here, and basically they all revolve around the 1-4-5. I don't know if I would say they get progressively harder as we go, but some of them are a little more difficult. I tried to put the more difficult ones at the very end. So the first ones are going to start off pretty simple. The first one is just a 2-chord song, and we've done this before, but we're just going to practice a little bit. I'm only going to go through like a verse and a chorus of most of these songs, and then do it in a different key and show you how, I'm trying to get you to understand the relationship of the key changes to the everything is relative from where you start concept. In other words, you're going to do the exact same thing. It's just that you're going to do it further down the neck. It's exactly the same, though. I mean, if you start paying attention to the movements that you make, the movements are going to be exactly the same. It's just that they'll be slightly closer together because the frets are smaller as you get down the neck. And that's the only change. So we're going to start off with one that I wrote. It's called Did Anybody Take Her Picture? We're going to start off in G, so there's your G there. Now, if you can only get 2 fingers, then fine. Just play 2 fingers and be happy with that. The idea is to try to keep up. The most important thing of all, and I've said this every time, is that it's the chop, and you want to keep in time. You do not want to break time. Don't let this hand, this is my golden rule, I've repeated it quite a few times. The golden rule is you never let this hand screw up this hand. This hand rules. So in other words, that's what you got to do. Keep that chop going. No matter what this hand does, you keep the chop going. This hand just has to be automatic, and it has to stay that way throughout the whole song, and you never change. Anytime you break time, everybody hears it. If you miss a note here, you miss a chord here, a couple of people might hear it, but most people aren't even going to notice it. But if you break time, everybody notices it because everybody's out of time then. So that's the important thing. I say that every single time, and I mean it even more each time we play, because that's what you really want to work on. You want to keep your time, and don't worry so much if you don't make the change at the exact right moment. If you miss the change, just keep your time going and try to get to the change the best you can. All right, this is just a 2-chord song, so what does that mean? By my rules, that automatically means it's just a 1 and a 5. There's no 4 in this one. So in this case, it's a G and a D like David, dog. So that's your 1. That's your 1 is the G, and there's your 5. So we don't have a 4, which is straight above the 1. We don't have that in this song. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I'd like to have just one more conversation. So I'll have to let a picture speak for her. I didn't know it was our last night together. The last time I'd see her alive. Side by side we watched that show together. But on that lonely road that night she died. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I'd like to have just one more conversation. So I'll have to let a picture speak for her. Yes, I'll just have to let a picture speak for her. Okay, just 1 and 5, that's all it was. I'm going to turn this light down. I think that might be helpful because I think it's glaring on my fretboard. If it will turn down. Guess it's all the way down. So maybe I'll turn, I don't know if that's better. If I turn it off, do you think that's better or not? It just seems to be glaring. Maybe I could turn it down that way and it won't hit the fretboard so hard. That's probably better. Let me turn it down just a little bit more. I'm bending it down actually is what I'm doing here to where it's shining a little more down. That's probably better. All right, well anyway, so, and again, in case you've forgotten or maybe just never did get it, your middle finger is almost always in a dotted fret. Almost always. So, you know, there's a few exceptions, but they're fairly rare, and they're further, and usually once you get further down the neck, or whenever you're playing in a flat or a sharp, of course. But when you're playing in your standard major keys, your A, B, C, D, E, F, G, in just straight keys, not sharps or flats, then your middle finger is, for the most of the time, it's going to be in a dotted fret. So this middle finger here. So there's where your G is, there's where your D is. And again, both of them are dotted frets, if you can see that there. And not all mandolins have a dot on the 3rd fret, so you could put a dot on the side here. I have dots on the sides of mine here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there are dots there. Okay, so that was in G, and it's just 1 and 5. So now let's move it down to A. And let's do it again, and it's just 1 and 5 again. So again, now your middle finger's in the dotted fret here, which is your 5th fret, and we're going to go up to E, which will be your 5. So keep in mind, it's just the exact same motion. So from here to here, from here to here, or now we're from here to here, from here to here. All we did was just move it down the neck. Everything is exactly the same. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I'd like to have just one more conversation. So I'll have to let a picture speak for her. I didn't know 'twas our last night together. The last time I'd see her alive. Side by side we watched that show together. But on that lonely road that night she died. Okay, now let's just move it down to B. So that's 2 more frets down. So now you're in the 7th fret with your middle finger. Again, that's a dotted fret. Now here, when you do the 5, you're not going to be in a dotted fret. So you're not going to be in one. You're going to, this up here, the 5 is not a dotted fret, because it would be like on a guitar, I guess, because I think it's on the 9th fret in a guitar, but on a mandolin, it's the 10th fret that's dotted. I don't know why that is. Don't even ask me. I have no idea. That's just the way it is. But in this case, we're going to be in B, and it's actually an F sharp is really what it is. B and F sharp. But it's the same exact motion, the same amount of fret movement, the same exact number of frets down to it, you know what I mean? Everything's exactly the same. There's no difference other than the fact that we just moved it down further down the neck. So now we're in B. B boy. Did anybody take her picture? I've heard a picture's worth 1,000 words. And I'd like to have just one more conversation. So I'll have to let a picture speak for her. 1 1 1 1 5 5 5 5 back to 1 1 1 1 up to 5 5 5 5 back to 1. Now, if you can deduce anything from that, you'll notice that the numbers stayed the same every time. See, that was 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. When we moved it down to A, it's 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. When we moved it down to B, 1 to 5, 1 to 5, 1 to 5. But all the letters changed every time we moved. So when you can start to think in numbers, that's when you'll start to see the patterns. Just like that's a pattern. It's only a 2-chord pattern, but it's a pattern. And you can see the pattern when you're thinking in numbers, because the numbers don't change. Therefore, you can see a pattern that recurs. You can't see it in letters because the letters change every single time, and you'll never, ever notice the patterns. That's why you need to start thinking in numbers so that you can start noticing the patterns. Because once you get the patterns down in your head, music starts to get real simple real fast. Okay, moving on. Let's go back up to G. G is going to be 1. This song has a 1 4 5. 1 4 5. So the 5's in the exact same place. There's no difference there. 1 and 5. But all we're doing is adding a 4, which is straight above your, it's in the same fret, it's just straight above your 1. When I say above, I mean above that way, like physically above it, you know. All right, so 1 4 5. Now this is also, now don't get the chord pattern mixed up with a song pattern. There's 2 different kinds of patterns. The chord pattern that we're talking about on the mandolin, there's only 2 patterns. It's the pattern that we're showing you first, which is these 2 fingers on the bottom 2 strings. When you start there, that's pattern number 1. When you start in the middle, and your first chord is in the middle, that's pattern number 2. That's chord patterns, and that's the mandolin chord patterns. Now I'm talking about a song pattern. Each song can have its own pattern, if you will. Every song could have its own pattern. So the pattern of this song is 1 4 5 in a circle. Just 1 4 5 in a circle. That's all it does. And that's all this song does the whole time. It never changes. And it's the same amount of beats on every one of the numbers. So 1 4 5, 1 4 5. It has the same amount of beats before you change each time. It's a very simple song. Blue Ridge Cabin Home. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where I wandered when I was a lad. And I wandered along to the place I call home in those Blue Ridge hills far away. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge hills I did roam. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home? 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 1, 1, 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, back to 1. Now, you also notice there that when we came back to the 1, you're hitting it to come back, and then you're hitting again the 1 to start the next round. So you know what I mean? So you have a little extra time on your 1 there when you get back to your end of your circle. So that was G, 1, 4, 5. Let's move it to A and do 1, 4, 5 again. Again, start to notice that it's just the same exact thing. It's just further down the neck, and it's still 1, 4, 5. So you can see the pattern is on this song. The pattern is exactly the same. The song pattern. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where I wandered when I was a lad. And I wandered alone to the place I call home in those Blue Ridge Hills far away. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge Hills I did roam. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home? Okay, just 1, 4, 5 again. All we did was just move it down higher. Now we'll do it again. We're going to go all the way down to B. So now again, your middle finger now is in the 7th fret again. And still 1, 4, 5. Same difference. Exactly the same as what we did earlier. In this case, the 4 is an E, and in this case, the 5 is the F sharp again. And the only difference is I have to sing higher. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where I wandered when I was a lad. And I wandered alone to the place I call home in those Blue Ridge Hills far away. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge Hills I did roam. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home? Okay, so there you go. Just exactly the same. It's just repetition, repetition, repetition. It's exactly the same. Everything is relative from where you start, meaning that you do the exact same thing. You just start in a different place. So wherever you start, you do the same exact thing that you did when you started somewhere else. But you do the exact same thing. And the numbers never change. That's the golden thing about the number system. All right. Let's try another song. By the way, I'm only showing chord pattern 1, if you will, or chord pattern where you're on the bottom 2 strings. I'm only showing that pattern tonight. We'll work on the middle 2 strings next week and do that pattern. Most people think that pattern's a little harder. I don't really know why. It's exactly the same, just backwards. And anytime you have to do something backwards, I guess it's harder. But anyway, here's another one. Little Cabin Home on the Hill. Tonight I'm alone without you, my dear. It seems there's a longing for you still. I'll just keep it there so I won't be alone in our little cabin home on the hill. Now, what did you notice about that one? You notice that the song pattern is different. It's not a circle anymore. It's not a 1 and a 5 or 1 and a 5 like we did on the first song. It's not a circle like we did on the second song. This is what I call the pivot pattern for a song. You know, you could almost group every song into two patterns a little bit. This is a big stretch, I'll admit, but you can group a whole lot of songs into two patterns. You can group them into a circle pattern, or you could group them into a pivot pattern, where you start on 1, you go to 4, you come back to 1, you go to 5, you come back to 1, you go to 4, you come back to 1, you go to 5. You know, that's kind of what this song is doing. It's pivoting around the 1. So let's do it again in G. So, there's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside. Sang the wrong song, didn't I? Sorry about that. Just get everybody totally confused. Tonight I'm alone without you, my dear. It seems there's a longing for you still. I'll just keep it there so I won't be alone in our little cabin home on the hill. Oh, someone has taken you from me and left me here all alone. Listen to the rain beat on my window pane in our little cabin home on the hill. I hope you are happy tonight as you are. In my heart there's a longing for you still. All I have to do now is sit alone and cry in our little cabin home on the hill. Oh, someone has taken you from me and left me here all alone. Listen to the rain beat on our window pane in our little cabin home on the hill. Okay, so basically it's just 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 4, 1, 5, pretty much through the whole song. Okay, moving it down to A. Notice that it's exactly the same. Tonight I'm alone without you, my dear. It seems there's a longing for you still. I'll just keep it there so I won't be alone in our little cabin home on the hill. Oh, someone has taken you from me and left me here all alone. Listen to the rain beat on our window pane in our little cabin home on the hill. Exactly the same as what we did in G, just higher down the neck. And now is when I have to tighten up the belt and sing a little higher. Tonight I'm alone without you, my dear. It seems there's a longing for you still. All I have to do now is sit alone and cry in our little cabin home on the hill. Exact same thing. So hopefully you're starting to get at least the concept that the numbers are always the same. You know, that's what's cool about numbers. You can see a pattern with numbers, but you can't see a pattern with letters. It just doesn't happen. There are no patterns with letters. I mean, you know, some people would argue that, but you don't see it. You definitely see it with numbers. Once you start thinking in numbers, it's just like any language. You know, you will never be fluent in any language until you start thinking in that language. Just like if you were trying to speak Spanish, if you're trying to translate every word from English to Spanish as you're speaking it, that ain't going to really ever get it done. You have to think in that language. So you have to start thinking in these numbers. the only time you should care about what the letter is when you play that first chord. In other words, the first chord is your number one chord. That's number one. So you have to know where G is. You have to know where A is. You have to know where B is. In fact, you have to know where every chord is so that you can find your one. Then after that, start thinking in numbers. And you'll start to see the patterns really quickly. All right, let's see. Let's move up to let's try another song. Now, this one here we have not tried before, I don't think. And I don't know how well it's going to go, but we'll see. By the way, none of these songs are, well, I shouldn't say none. Only, I think, Little Cabin Home on the Hill I actually do in G. The rest of these I do in different keys so far. This one I normally do in F, but we're going to do it in G. And it's called Chalk Up Another One. Now, I can't remember which song pattern this is. I don't remember if it's a circle or if it's a 1-4, 1-5 type, or if it's a combination. Actually, I kind of think this one's a combination. Kind of does a little bit of a circle, a little bit of a pivot. It's amazing how many different patterns, song patterns, you can find with just 1, 4, 5. So here we go. Now you should get a medal, dear, for every broken heart. For every life you ruin, you think you're so smart. Never even had a chance, now my life is lost. Once more you had your fun, and you don't care about the cost. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Chalk up another one, heart you tore apart. You picked me for a fool, my dear, how well I played the part. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Broken vows and shattered dreams mean little, dear, to you. For once you said you loved me, now we are through. All is fair in love and war, I guess you showed me so. Was in this crazy game of love you hit an all-time low. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Chalk up another one, heart you tore apart. You picked me for a fool, my dear, how well I played the part. Chalk up another one. I forgot. Get to thinking about other things, I forget the words. But anyway, that, again, it's just 1, 4, 5, but just in a little different order there. Again, it's a different song pattern, if you will. And it was a little bit of a hybrid there, kind of, because it didn't just go straight back to the 1 every time. Sometimes it went from the 4 up to the 5, Okay, let's try to move it up to A. I don't know if I can sing this in A. I'm going to try to sing lower and see if I can sing it on the low side, which will be really low. Now you should get a medal, dear, for every broken heart. For every life you ruin, you think you're so smart. I never even had a chance, now my life is lost. Once more you had your fun and you don't care about the cost. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Chalk up another one, heart you tore apart. You picked me for a fool, my dear, how well I played the part. Chalk up another one, an old broken heart, something like that. I don't know what I'm singing now. Listen, the other thing I just dawned on me here is if you're really struggling trying to follow the songs, even if you do understand where the chords are and that, and you're still struggling, keep your time. And if you have to, just mute the strings and just keep time. But just timing is everything. A lot of times what I do with a brand new student, doesn't matter whether they're an adult or a kid, a lot of times I'll have them sit with me at the jam, at a regular open jam, and sit right next to me. And all I have them do is just hold their fingers lightly on the strings just to mute them and just do this. Maybe that whole first jam that they go to, that's all I have them do is just keep time. And it's that important. Keeping time is so important. Because if you don't have time, you really don't have anything in music. Music is all about time. And if you're not in time, you're just making noise. That's all that you're doing. You're not making music, you're just making noise. All right. So that was chalk up another one. We didn't move it down to B, but we might as well try that. Let's go down to B. So now we're, again, the middle finger's down in the 7th fret again. It's still the same 1, 4, 5. You know, it's same exact places. You should get a medal, dear, for every broken heart. For every life you ruin, you think you're so smart. I never even had a chance, now my life is lost. Once more you had your fun and you don't care about the cost. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Chalk up another one, heart you tore apart. You picked me for a fool, my dear, well I played the part. Chalk up another one, another broken heart. Ronald Todd says his timing hand is wanting to strum like a guitar. It's not that different. It really isn't. It's basically the same thing. It's just that you don't hit that extra beat. It's exactly the same otherwise. Just leave out that extra. Just leave that out. And like you see me, I kind of do that little pretend stroke there. It's just my nature. I just do that. You don't have to do that, but it might help you. If you can just kind of hit that pretend stroke in between instead of hitting the string, I don't know if it helps or not, but that's how I do it. I've always done it that way. It's just a habit at this point. All right, here's another one I know we haven't tried before. Now, normally I sing this in B flat, but we're going to do it in G, and we're going to do it in A, and we're going to do it in B again. Now, again, it's just 1, 4, 5 as far as I can remember. I haven't even tried it, so I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's just 1, 4, 5. So you know where your 4 is, and you know where your 5 is. I mean, they're always in the same place. They never move, so... Taking me for granted was your first mistake. That was the beginning of my last heartache. Then you added insult to my injury. When you started treating me just as you please. So count me out if future plans you might be making. No more foolish chances am I taking. You played love's game too rough. As for me, I've had enough. For the going got too rough, so count me out. Now, you ought to have been able to recognize that song pattern. It was a perfect circle, just like Blue Ridge Cabin Home. It's amazing how you can do the exact same thing on 2 different songs, but you're doing exactly the same thing, and they sound completely different. It's just the way it is. I didn't invent music. It's just the way it works. All right, so let's move that down to A. Taking me for granted was your first mistake. That was the beginning of my last heartache. Then you added insult to my injury when you started treating me just as you please. So count me out of future plans you might be making. No more foolish chances am I taking. You played love's game too rough. As for me, I've had enough. For the going got too rough, so count me out. Again, just a circle, just further down the neck. Let's move it down to B. Now I really have to sing high. Taking me for granted was your first mistake. That was the beginning of my last heartache. Then you added insult to my injury when you started treating me just as you please. So count me out of future plans you might be making. No more foolish chances am I taking. You played love's game too rough. As for me, I've had enough. For the going got too rough, so count me out. Dottie says, "Yay, I almost did my first song." Well, Dottie, go back to that 2-chord song. That's you can surely do that one. It's pretty straight, it's pretty simple. You just do it at your own speed, you know. Let's see. That was called Count Me Out. I don't know where that song came from. I think it must have been an old country song. I heard Del McCoury do it. He did it, of course, bluegrass style. All right, here's one that I know lots and lots of people like. It's everybody attributes this to Grandpa Jones, and certainly he sang it, and I think he may have even co-wrote it, but there was a lot of controversy about who wrote this song, but the way I understand it, someone else actually wrote it, and maybe Grandpa Jones co-wrote it with him. I'm not really sure. It's in G, or that's where we're starting. This is high for me in G. I usually do this in E also. Fallen leaves that lie scattered on the ground, the birds and flowers that were here cannot be found. All the friends he ever had are not around. It's too high. They're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Some folks drift along through life and never thrill to the feeling that a good deed brings until it's too late and they are ready to lie down. There beneath the leaves scattered on the ground. To your grave there's no use taking any gold. Let me start that one again. That's my favorite verse and I screwed it up. To your grave there's no use taking any gold. You can't use it when it's time for hands to fold. When you leave this earth for a better home someday, the The only thing you take is what you gave away. Again, circle pattern, just circle pattern. Sounds completely different than the other ones. Don't know how they do that. They just do it. All right, move it down to A. And I'm definitely going to have to sing on the low side of this. Fallen leaves that lie scattered on the ground. The birds and flowers that were here cannot be found. All the friends he ever had are not around. They're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Okay, just circle pattern in A, go down to B. Fallen leaves that lie scattered on the ground. The birds and flowers that were here cannot be found. All the friends he ever had are not around. They're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. Yes, they're all scattered like the leaves upon the ground. That was what you call a recap there, where I recap that last line. And generally speaking, you go back to where you just came from. That's generally how you do it. It's not always 100% the way you do it, but it's often. So you just go back to that last chord and come back. Okay, that was Fallen Leaves. Now here's one that I wrote, Father of Bluegrass. I normally do this in A, so this one's not too bad to sing in G because it's lower that way. And we're going to move it up to A and then to B too, and I'm just going to do a verse of it. Now this one's really fast actually, so I'm going to do this one a little faster than what we've been doing, but not a whole lot faster. I won't go up to the normal speed. Bill Monroe is the father of bluegrass. He's the one that gave us all this joy. He picked up an old Gibson mandolin, and he formed a band called the Bluegrass Boys. He's known far and wide for his picking. We've all tried to copy his style. Now for those of you who'd like to hear it, you're out of luck, 'cause I'm not gonna pick it tonight. Anyway, that you probably recognized the pattern, didn't you? 1-4-5, but it's 1-4-1-5, 1-4-1-5. You know, it's a pivot pattern again. See how you start to see those patterns when you're thinking in numbers? Way different than when you're thinking in letters, trust me. And once you get deeper into it, when you start incorporating all those other numbers, you really start to see some patterns. Okay, let's move it up to A. Bill Monroe is the father of bluegrass. He's the one that gave us all this joy. He picked up an old Gibson mandolin, and he formed a band called the Bluegrass Boys. He's known far and wide for his picking. We've all tried to copy his style. Now for those of you who'd like to hear it, I'm still not gonna play it tonight. Something like that. I messed it up a little bit there, but you know what I mean. All right, and then finally in B. Bill Monroe is the father of bluegrass. He's the one that gave us all this joy. He picked up an old Gibson mandolin, and he formed a band called the Bluegrass Boys. Good enough. Just so you can see that, you're doing exactly the same thing over and over and over and over and over. It's just the same exact thing. Everything is the same relative from where you start. That's the key to this whole way I teach this music. And you just have to get that down. Now we're going to get into the last two songs that are a little bit more complicated. They're not crazy complicated, but they're a little bit more complicated. Goodbye Old Pal, it's still a standard old bluegrass tune, written by Bill Monroe, I believe. And it's got a yodel in it. I'm not going to mess with the yodel tonight. Well, at least not at the beginning anyway. I normally yodel to go into this song, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to play it. And this one has a 2-chord in it. So we're going to introduce a 2-chord. And then we'll move it down the neck just like we did here before so that you can see that the 2-chord's always in the same place too. Okay, we're in G. So it's 1, 4, 5, and it's going to have a 2. So the 2 is 2 notes higher than your 1. So that's the way I think of it. It's just easy to remember it that way. 2 notes higher than your 1. So it's 2, your 1 fret, 2nd fret. So that's all it is. That's where your 2-chord is. So you'll see me go there when we get to that point in the song. Long about roundup time in Texas, way out west, I lost a friend and a pal, boys, and I laid him down to rest. I'm going to stop right there because that's the rule. There's a Nashville number system rule that I wrote that says once you go to a 2, where are you going next? You're going to a 5. And that's what we did. It just works that way. Don't know why it works that way. It just does. It's just one of the rules that I made up. So there you go. So that just shows you that once you go to that 2, you're going to go to a 5 next. It's almost every song is like that. There's a few exceptions, but not very, very many. It's mostly if you go to a 2, you pretty much bet you're going to a 5 next. Every once in a while you'll be wrong, but it's not going to be very often that you'll be wrong. Okay? So when you can guess 90% of the time and be right, you're doing good guessing, and that's what that rule's for, is to tell you that once you go to a 2, get ready, you're going to a 5. So here we go. We'll play the whole verse this time and maybe the chorus. I'm not really sure. Long about roundup time in Texas, way out west, I lost a friend and a pal, boys, and I laid him down to rest. I wept and moaned all over the grave. To me, boys, it was sad. But I knew down beneath that mound lay the best pal I ever had. My best pal was an old gray horse, and now he's gone to rest. I laid him down beneath that mound in Texas, way out west, where the cactus bloom all over the grave, the coyotes cry. I know he sleeps in perfect peace beneath that Texas sky. Dear old pal, it breaks my heart to leave you here alone. Now I'll go and ride the range on that Texas roan. But my love for you, old pal, it shall linger on. I will always think of you, although you're dead and gone. Okay, so again, that was pretty much a pivot pattern, pretty close to that. It's kind of a modified pivot pattern, if you will. But there you go. That 2-chord is what we're introducing on that song, is just to show you that, you still got your 1, 4, 5 is the base of your song, and you jump to that 2, then you go to that 5. Did you notice how that when you jump from that 2 up to that 5, it adds that power? I want to do that just one more time and listen. You don't even have to play along. Listen to how it adds the power, jumping up to that 5. You can play along if you want, but you don't have to. But listen to the power. That's how you can identify a 2 chord. Long about roundup time in Texas, way out west, I lost a friend and a pal, boys, and I laid him down to rest. Laid him down to rest. Jumps up there like that. That's how you can hear that. You can hear that go to that 2 and then jump all the way up to that 5. It just has its own unique sound, and you can hear that in lots and lots of songs. Okay, move it down to A. Now I don't think I can sing this high, and I definitely can't yodel it. Long about roundup time in Texas, way out west, I lost a friend and a pal, boys, and I laid him down to rest. I wept and moaned all over the grave. To me, boys, it was sad, but I knew down beneath that mound lay the best pal I ever had. Got it? Pretty straightforward. You know, again, that 2 chord was just 2 notes higher than where you started. Again, all you care about is where you start. If you just think about that and remember the numbers after the where you start. The start was the A, I'm sorry. We started on A, and your 2 chord in that case was a B, but it doesn't really matter what you call it because you're just 2 notes higher, you know. It's in the same relative place. That's the point I want you to get. I hope you're getting that. All right, let's go down to B. Now, that's our starting point. So our 2 notes higher is going to be 2 notes higher, which is just 2 frets higher, which is, in this case, it's a C sharp if you care, but you don't have to know what the name of the chord is. Now we're really high in B. Long about roundup time in Texas, way out west, I lost a friend and a pal, boys, and I laid him down to rest. See how it still punches it up there? That's probably enough of it. You getting the picture, I think. All right, so let's go back. I want to have time for, we'll go a little over an hour, but that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I want to go ahead and get this last song in because I've got it in for a particular purpose. It's back to easy again, but it's complicated. It's simple, but it's complicated. And the reason it's complicated is because we're going to modulate on this song. Now, what is modulation? Well, I'm probably the last one on the planet that should explain that, but here's the hillbillies version of modulation. You just jump it up basically 2 notes for the most part. Now, that's not 100% true, and you'll find out in this song it's not 100% true because the first time we modulate it, yes, we're going to modulate twice. The first time we modulate it, you're just going to bounce up 2 frets. The second time we modulate it, you're going to bounce up 3 frets, which is going to take you to C in that case. So we're going to start in G. When we modulate, now modulation means that we're changing the key of the song. So we're going to start the song in G, but we're going to move it up to A, and we're going to sing the song in A on the next verse. Then we're going to move it all the way to C and sing the song. So we're past our B. We've been going to B, but we're going to go 1 note past the B. So we'll actually, instead of being in the 7th fret, we'll be in the 8th fret. That's where your B is. But everything else is the same. As long as you know, if you've got it figured out in G, then you should have it in A and you should have it in C. Okay? The song is called Rebel Soldier. I know a lot of people like this song, so hopefully we can do it without messing it up too bad. This is a fairly slow song. In a dreary Yankee prison, where a rebel soldier lay, by his side there stood a preacher, ere his soul should pass away. And he faintly whispered, "Parson," as he clutched touched him by the hand. Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland? Now we're going to modulate up to A. Will my soul pass through the Southland, through old Virginia grand? Will I see the hills of Georgia and the green fields of Alabama? Will I see that little church house where I pledge my heart and hand? Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland? Going to sea. Was for loving dear old Dixie in this dreary cell I lie. Was for loving dear old Dixie in this northern state I'll die. Will you see my little daughter? Will you make her understand? Oh, parson, tell me quickly, will my soul pass through the Southland? And then the rebel soldier died. Anyway, that's kind of the normal way that most people do it. They do it in G, then A, then C. You don't have to modulate it at all if you didn't want to, if it's too complicated for you. But you see there, that was just a 2-chord song. But the way you complicate that song is to modulate it, and it makes it pretty, makes it sound cool. And it's really nice if you can, play a real transition into the modulation. And when we've got the whole band here, I do something that helps a little bit, but I'm not very good at that. I just, play a few notes that move us up to the next key. And there's a lot of people way better at that than I am. Well, guys, that's going to be it for the music for tonight. So let's go into the comments. Now, those of you who have been playing along, you haven't had time to write your comments. So go ahead and make your comments as I start on. I'll start up at the top and go through, see who's here tonight and what they're saying. And then if you have any questions or songs that you want me to try to cover in a future one, then let me know and I'll try to cover them. I'm not guaranteeing I'm going to, because some songs just don't fit me. And they just don't make sense for me. Ronald Todd was the first one to ring in this evening. And there's, it says, all tuned up and the strings have finally stopped stretching. Good session to everyone. And Joe Nigan, he did it to me again. He did that today. He says, have a nice evening, everyone, and Jerry. And Ronald Todd called him on it this time. He says, and Jerry? What do you mean? Anyway, I don't think he considers me everyone. I'm not part of the human race. Let's see. Dottie Hildebrand says, good afternoon, everyone. And Jerry, okay. And she did it too. And Dottie's made a donation on PayPal. Thank you, Dottie. I appreciate that very much. Don't forget the thumbs up. Yeah, Ronald Todd says, and I'd appreciate that if you would do that. Ben Boyd was there. Let's let's see, Bill Mumbo, and then after we went live, Ronald Todd was the first one after we went live. Then Bill Rudd says, Jerry, do you know Why Me, Lord? Yeah, I mean, I know probably a little bit of the chorus, Why me, Lord? What have I ever done to deserve even one of the kindness you've shown? Tell me, Lord. I don't know. I could probably work that up, but I don't know it right now. Let's see. Ronald Todd, my timing hand. Yeah, we talked about that. It strums similar to a guitar. And basically, see, lots of people try to make the mandolin chop as being something so unique and so complicated that not just everybody can do it. It's too complicated for everybody. But it's not true. It's exactly the same as the guitar. It's just you leave out that extra beat. That's all you do. It's no different. And if you can start to think like that, then it's not that hard. And Dottie says she almost did her first song. Yep, and that's cool. Kim Williford, Jerry, that's a beautiful song. People don't realize what that song really says and how true it really is. Yep. I'm not sure which one you're talking about, but I imagine you were talking about the last one there, the Rebel Soldier. It's a beautiful song. It really is. Dottie Hildebrand says, I finally got it. Thank goodness. Well, I'm glad to hear it, Dottie, because I really, of all the people to get it, I wanted you to get it really, really bad. I really do, and I hope you'll just keep chugging away at it. I keep saying it's simple. What I mean by that is the concept of what I'm teaching here is simple. Music itself is not simple. Let me just be clear. Music itself, in general, is not simple, but this way to learn it is pretty straightforward. It's not too complicated. It's pretty straightforward. It's way more straightforward than most people think, and that's what I'm trying to get across. And again, once you can start to think in the numbers, because the numbers are always in that same place, no matter where you start, when you start on those two bottom strings, no matter where it is that you start, everything else, the 4 is in the same place, the 5's in the same place, the 2's in the same place, every time. There's no exceptions to that. So just keep that in mind. Ronald Todd says, good session tonight. Thank you. Brian Byler, thanks for another good lesson. Well, you're welcome. Bill Roach forgot the question mark, so he must ask, how about Wayfaring Stranger? Well, I can do that. That's a complicated song. That's not the simple song. But we can do that down the road. We can do, we will work into the complicated songs. I'm trying to take it slow, though, not get there too fast, because there's a lot of people that are still, having issues with this stuff. It's not, we don't all learn at the same pace. And for those of you who learn a lot faster, you're going to be bored with some of this. I get it. Paul Lanier, hi Jerry and folks. Last measure or two put a tear in my eye. Thank you for the knowledge. I've never tuned in for mandolin lesson, but now I'm on the hunt. Well, thanks, Paul. Glad to hear it. Yeah, that last song is a great song. Everybody likes that song. I mean, and there's that movement about getting rid of all the rebel stuff, and I get it. I get that. But they were people too, and a lot of them died in the war, and they deserve a certain respect. I don't necessarily agree with the ideology that they had, but I don't want to see it erased from history either. Let's see. Ben Boyd, excellent class tonight, everybody. And Jerry, before you end the class for a good, can you go over some general transitions? I don't know if I know what you mean by that. I'm not, you may be thinking in terms of formal music training and a transition. And I kind of have my ideas of what I would think that is, but you got to understand, all I know is what I know. I've never been trained on anything. So I'm not sure what you mean by general transitions. If you can explain it a little more, maybe I can go over it. But for me, transitions, the way I think of transitions, well, one of them would be that modulation where we transition to that next chord. But the other more common one is the seventh, where you're playing a seventh. That transitions you into the next chord within the song without modulating at all. It just moves you to the next chord in the song pattern. So that's the way I think of transitions. Now, I don't know if that's what you're meaning or not. Kim Williford, I love this session. Great lesson. Well, good. Jeffrey Shue, they are naming you, and Jerry, you show you are above the rest in their eyes. Well, thank you. Ben Boyd, transitions, runs between chords. Okay, I don't, on the mandolin, well, I shouldn't say I don't do that, because I do. It's pretty advanced, though. I don't think we're ready for that in terms of these kinds of lessons. But, I mean, like, really the only transition I could really show at this level, I think, is the seventh. And you saw me hit that a lot tonight. I don't mean to hit it in these lessons. But whenever you're playing a song and you hit that seventh, then you move to the next key or the next chord in the song. And I'll show you what I mean by that. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where I wandered when I was a lad. See, I hit that seventh there. Don't necessarily have to hit it. I just do. More out of habit than anything. And so, but some songs, the seventh really helps you a lot. And I'm trying to think if we did one of those tonight. I know in a dreary Yankee prison where the rebel soldier lay. I don't know if this one does. By his side. It was probably in the Goodbye Old Pal. About round-up time in Texas, way out west. I lost a friend in the Pal Boys and laid him down to... There's where I hit a seventh there. Laid him down to rest before I go to the five. See? So, long about round-up. There's the seventh. Whenever you see me raise that finger, that's your seventh. Long about round-up time in Texas, way out west. I lost a friend in the Pal Boys and laid him down to rest. So I'm basically, I'm walking right up to it. So that's how I do that. That's your seventh. But it's like you're walking to it that way. That's all I'm doing. So the sevenths, again, for those of you who haven't quite got the hold on the seventh, basically the seventh, all you do, again, it's a transition chord. Do not confuse a seventh with a TH at the end, seventh, with a seven chord. A seven chord is totally different than a seventh. A seventh is just the same chord you're in. You convert that chord to a seventh by doing that. You pick this finger up, take it off the fretboard, and you jump this finger over the top. This finger stays where it's at. You jump over to the string that this finger was on. That's all you do. That's a seventh, called a seventh. It changes the sound of the chord, and it's a transition chord to go to your next chord. And so what I showed a week or two ago was a good drill or, practice is, like if you're trying to learn your sevenths, is just to do this over and over. is to do that over and over and get faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster with it. And then move it down to the, like to the A and move down to the B and practice it. That's where all your sevenths are. They're always in the same place. They don't move. They're always in the same place. So that's the only thing I want to talk about on transitions tonight would be that. Dottie Hildebrand, thank you for the lesson. I almost cried when I got it. I bet you did. Because it's, like I said, music is not simple. These concepts are pretty straightforward. They're fairly, I don't even know if I want to call them simple, but I don't have a better word. They're not complicated. It's just the light has to come on. And that's the way it was for me the first time I got it too. I played for years and years and years and years and years and didn't understand the national number system at all. Then I've told you this before, I sat down to learn it because we were getting ready to have a giant group lesson. And I thought somebody's going to ask me about that doggone number system and I'm not going to know anything. So I better sit down and learn it. So I sat down and learned it. And it was like the best thing that ever happened to me in music. It was the best thing. The light bulbs started going off, like they just started coming on. I was like, oh, I get it. Oh, wow. Why didn't I learn this a long time ago? That kind of thing. It was the way it was for me. Now, everybody learns it at a different rate, and it depends on what you already know, too, to some degree. But like I say, it's better if you don't try to compare it to anything. If you can just try to learn it with an open mind, it'll come a lot easier, I think. Kim Williford, very good, Dottie. I'm glad you got it. Fine, keep it. Yeah, keep at it. That's right. Richard Herbranson, PayPal donation. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much. By the way, before we end this, if anybody's watching this at a later date, you can always still make a PayPal donation, or you can still do a super chat. It'll still get to me. I appreciate it. Let's see. Moving on down. Good night, Bill. Okay. Good night. Okay. Good night. I understand. Perfect transition explanation, Jerry. I'll be practicing that. Well, thank you. Well, guys, thanks so much for being here. Appreciate the nice compliments and comments, I guess I should say. And we will see you in the morning if you're going to be, or well, actually, it's not in the morning. I keep thinking it's morning vlogs, but it's afternoon vlogs right now at 1 o'clock. So we'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much.